Alright, and here it is. The first iteration of RP-1.1's launchpad is complete. One design flaw I had when creating it was I made all of these holes the same size, except right here I missed one of the extrusions because it was two halves. The other thing is the printer was doing great, and then it started to mess up at a certain point. Not really mess up, but just the print material is very thin, so the tops of these are very thin. I do believe this will work. I think I'm going to have to sand this out a little bit, because right now, all of the fins just kind of go in, but then on this one, it locks in. So, that's not really a bad design, but it is bad when it's only on one, because the rest lift up really easily. But if I were to try and pull the rocket right now, it's going to... It pulls on that one a little bit more. You can watch that again. Hold on, let me get this seated. Yeah, so if I pull, it sticks on that a little bit. So, while the engine will definitely be able to overcome that little bit of friction, it's going to tip the rocket a bit, and then it's launching this way and going way over there. So, with a little bit of work, I do believe I can get this to work. Also, these supporting rods that support the different towers, they're definitely good, but if I squeeze the two towers together, they're doing nothing. I mean, they're 3 layers thick. I mean, they fall apart really easily. They are extremely weak. So if there is going to be a version 2, those either need to be beefed up or just gone away with. Because those struts, they look cool and functionally would be great, but right now they're just looks because they're absolute trash. They start off great here. They're really nice and bolstered on the sides where they connect, and then it just gets so thin it's not even really worth having. It screws into the plate very well. All in all, the main design is great. The section of aluminum right here for heating purposes, the screws go in great, and the board is great. So whenever we do go to replace this 3D printed unit, again, we'll just unscrew these 4 screws, line up the new one, and screw them in again. So I can already start working on the next version of this, but I do at this point think, because this took a decent amount of time to print, it took a good amount of filament, if I can get this one channel sorted out, because the rocket fits on it very well, it's seated very well, there's tons of room under there to get the igniters up to the engine. Like, all in all, it is a good design. I do believe RP-1.1's first flight, or RP-1's second flight, RP-1 the 0.1 version, which is in this current configuration with its current updates, will be flying on this launch pad, I believe. This was, again, just a test launch pad. It only has 2 screws holding it in. There's markings everywhere because it was a test. Just went ahead and used the failed 3D print to get some tests going. This launch pad, I do believe, will be launching RP-1.1 on its first flight. Again, if I can get this sorted out. And again, it is going to need an update because these suck. We might just delete them, or maybe put the brace down here at the bottom, which could also create another screw point. I don't really know yet. But yeah, all in all, this is pretty good. Or maybe there will be a circular ring around it that's stronger. I don't really know yet. Comments down below if you have an idea of how I should do that strut section. Also, the main thing that needs to happen, let's just get this seated on the test bed. Okay. The main thing that needs to happen is I need to get this extrusion figured out on the actual model. So if I go to print this again, it won't do that. And I might also, instead of printing it on the i3 Mega, which is what it did print on, that's the older version, I think I should print it on the Mega S because it's a newer, better printer. And that might, on its own, fix up this issue. Not to mention that the tip on the i3 Mega, it seems smaller than 0.4 millimeters. It's labeled 0.4 millimeters, but whenever filament's pushed out of it, it seems smaller. I do believe that this Launchpad version 1.0 will be launching RP-1.1 on its first flight, or RP-1 on its second flight. Depending on how you want to look at it, this is still RP-1. It is still the rocket that flew the first time, but it's had a lot of design changes, making enough design changes that it is now considered RP-1.1, and there will be a full video on the changes and why it's considered RP-1.1. But it will get a little bit more detail in RP-1.1's explanation video and design changes video, explaining the difference between RP-1 and RP-1.1, because again, there were enough changes to warrant a design change. Had I just added one thing, changed one thing, it would have remained RP-1, but it's RP-1.1 because 4 to 5 design changes on the entire rocket were made. So, there will be a video on that. But thank you guys for watching the build video of this. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.